I have a dream that one day the great nation of the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter community will be able to experience and understand the need for preservation. I have a dream that one day the children of our children, the sons of our sons, the daughters of our daughters will be able to experience the magnificently iconic trembling release of Sonic the Hedgehog, originally released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. I have a dream that the generation that is upcoming will be able to experience Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 and Project '06 hand in hand, and that the community will no longer segregate these two as different types of expression, that they will one day acknowledge the effort present within both of these titles. I, I have a dream that one day Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 will be preserved and recompiled, meaning that anyone who has access to the original files on the Xbox 360 will be able to experience that game on any modern computing system. I have a dream.
I'm done. Just for a quick notice and quick heads up, this video is going to be really light and probably more commentary based than what I usually like to make, just primarily because a little bit of a time crunch, a little bit of an injury, and I felt like I need to get something out. But anyways, more importantly, I've seen people talk about the idea of seeing a Sonic '06 recompilation after the Magical team was able to finally get Sonic Unleashed to have a port that is native to PC, meaning that as long as you got an actual game file of the 360 release of Sonic Unleashed, you are able to play in all of its glory, and probably one of the best fan-made projects ever being Sonic Unleashed Recompile, which the team has graciously released the tools that they use to make this happen, meaning that almost any and all Xbox 360 games are up on the table for what is going to be recompiled next. All the tools are available, so it's just a matter of making sure the right teams are available and the people are going in and getting it done. As far as I understand, no one has yet, and emphasis on yet, released anything with this tool to my nature. I know I could be wrong on this, and like Loki, I'm too lazy to look that shit up. But regardless, I've seen a lot of people discussing the fact that if we should see a Sonic Unleashed or Sonic '06 recompile, and I do see in some small tidbits of the community people saying that, well, why do we need a Sonic '06 recompile when we have something like PL6 existing? And more or less, this video is kind of be me talking about and me really playing with the idea of advocating for why I do believe that Sonic '06 recompile would be beneficial. I don't think it's a high priority target, as I do believe that there are games that are stuck on that generation that are more than likely never going to see the light of day. Off top of my head, Skate 3 is a game that rings incredibly clear in my mind as a high priority target. I made a tweet about this when the recompile tool was available, highly advocating, suggesting that even though it is an original Xbox game, I would love to see Jet Set Radio Future finally be playable in its complete and utter glory. I do know the Xenia emulator exists, but like I'm keeping it real. I've had notorious issues with the Xenia emulator trying to get Jet Set Radio Future to work, but regardless of that fact, I would love to see a Sonic Unleashed or Sonic 2006 recompile that would be playable on PC. Now, I do see a lot of people making the notion that, hey, we already have PL6, and to that point, I would like to mention that, hey, for the longest time, we had Project Unleashed, which was a port of all of the Sonic Unleashed stages put inside the Sonic generations, and for the longest time that was primarily the easiest way to access and play the stages that are present within Sonic Unleashed. All the daytime levels, I do believe most of the Eggman Land was like some way, shape, or form finally able to make its way over to PC, obviously without any of its Werehog segments, and the DLC levels, all of which were put and incorporated inside of Sonic Generations PC release. But the thing with that is that Sonic Unleashed is its two gameplay styles are present within the game, along with many other features that obviously could be imported into Sonic Generations on PC. You got the hub worlds, you got the missions, you got the biggest one, of course, being the Werehog, all of which are integral aspects of Sonic Unleashed, to the point where I would say, like, yeah, you could play the Unleashed project on Sonic Generations, you get a feel and understanding of what Sonic Unleashed's daytime stages were like, but you will not be able to fully understand the context of it, the feeling of it, the game design, all of which, the elements, the RPG stat increases of Sonic Unleashed would not be something you would be able to experience by playing Project Unleashed. You would not get the same experience. And I mention that to say that, yes, while we do have Chaos X Silencer making Sonic, Project 06 is definitely a net positive for the community and is really magical thing. But that does not erase the need for the original version and release of Sonic 06 to be preserved. I've always advocated for game preservation, and to see people suggest that a fan-made creation should take precedent over the original release of something is utterly confusing, to say the least, especially when we are in an era where Sonic Team has to acknowledge, and they have been acknowledging, some of their missteps in the past. I think, in my personal opinion, a big dick baller move would be to completely and utterly actualize and acknowledge and own up and be like, yeah, we made Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, and we're gonna stand by that. Yeah, we've improved tenfold since that game came out, and actually acknowledge this part of their history. I know for a while there was like this weird era where it was like the child not to be spoken. I don't even think it's on the timeline for the Shadow the Hedgehog shorts. I want to say around the time that Sonic Generations X Shadow was making its rounds, there was an official timeline posted, and 06 was just completely omitted from it. Obviously, it could have, in part, be because of how that game ends with the entire, I guess, timeline, or I'm blanking. I haven't played that game to completion in years, being erased. But regardless, it was omitted, but it did see representation in Sonic X Shadow Generations through Kingdom Valley and the Mephiles boss fight. But regardless of that fact, I do believe that Sonic 06 deserves to be preserved. I think there is not a case for a game that does not need to be preserved, and outside of like some obscene outliers, obviously off the top of my head, games that include imagery of illegal things, that's probably the most ad friendly way I can say. Games like the Guy game, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. But regardless of that point, 06 deserves to be preserved, so a lot of people can experience that game in its original format. I understand that game is broken, buggy, and a mess, and that's kind of the point of why I'm advocating this, because to get an experience Sonic 06 in today's day and age is a Herculean task that is more than likely not possible, because you're gonna have to find an Xbox 360, you're gonna have to find a PS3, a copy of the game, because you're not gonna be able to buy the game digitally. And hey, if you want to access the DLC, that is unironically unable to be accessed unless you can find a pirated copy. So you're not gonna have the experience of playing the super hard mode. You're not gonna have the experience of playing the I believe the Team Attack Amigo stages. That's like the DLC name of it. But all those need to be preserved, at least in my personal opinion, and I do believe one of the best ways of doing that is to go about the process of making a recompile for Sonic 06 to happen. Now, the game is, for a long time, was considered to be definitively, no debates, the worst game in the entire franchise. And while there has been a movement of people who've had experience with the game in the past, I primarily grew up with Sonic 06 being one of the main 3D Sonic games I played. There has been a rising notion in people coming to praise and enjoy some of the things that are present with 06, because for a long time, like I mentioned beforehand, that game was the butt of the franchise. Now, do not get this twisted, conflated, whatever. A fan coming back to Sonic 06 and finding things that they like about the game and communicating the things they like about the game is not rewriting history, because history has shown that the review numbers for 06, the fan base that had to endure that game around release, all of those things are still there, and they are still consistent, and they are still held true to this game. A couple people hopping out and being like, hey, I like the OST. I like some of the character moments. I like this and that from 06. It's not them trying to rewrite history of Sonic 06 being one of the critically worst review games in the franchise. User review, like just overall, one of the underperforming games in the critical / fan enjoyment aspect. None of that is changing by people coming back and celebrating what they liked about the game. And I truly believe that a recompilation of Sonic 06 to PC would help people rediscover their love and also rediscover some of the things about this game that doesn't work, keeping that game intact, because I do believe that a lot of people would love to see a Sonic 06 remake / reimagining. But the thing about that is I'm personally of the opinion that if you were going to make a full-on remake that is meant to replace the original version of a game, that original version should also in some way, shape, or form be able to be owned, purchased, or exist simultaneously with the original release. That's why when FF7R does like all its weird fucky wucky timeline shit, I low-key don't care, because the original release has been so well preserved that you could go and you could find it relatively easy. It's on all major platforms. It's on Steam. It's on your damn iPhone. You can play FF7 on your damn iPhone, bruh. But for a game like 06, that is just quite frankly not possible because of the time period that it was released in, and the fact that Sega would probably rather kill itself than acknowledge that, hey, we released what has been critically received as one of the worst games of all time. Again, not saying I agree with that notion, but I do believe that having a modern day recompilation of Sonic 06 would probably allow people to fully understand and play that game and be able to come to gripes or develop their own opinions and thoughts on something that is incredibly hard to access. Okay, there's a limited supply of Xbox 360s out in the world that are going to be able to play the game. There's also a limited supply of PS3s that are going to be out of the world, and eventually at some point being able to play Sonic 06 on those native hardware is going to be impossible. So porting it to PC is going to help preserve that game for the long time. I do know that you could find a ROM of Sonic 06, but let's be real, a lot of people don't like to pirate, and I don't think there is a world where Sonic Team would ever port or try to preserve this original release. They would do exactly what Atlas did when they made P3R, and they're like, hey, this is the definitive version of the game. And then they would change some core gameplay aesthetics that people love about the game just to make it appeal to a different audience, or an audience that has become accustomed to the more modern design. I would be surprised if we got a Sonic 06 remake and it features boost gameplay for whatever fucking reason. I'm throwing it out there. Don't be surprised if it happened. I genuinely would not be shocked. But I think Sonic 06 in its true nature, with its story, with its kiss, all of that needs to be preserved so we can remember it for future generations. Pun, you can take the pun intended. I don't know. I probably yapped a little bit. I'm gonna have to cut this video down a lot. But in truth, to summarize my points on this commentary topic, I do apologize for the non-scripted nature of this video. But I think Sonic 06 would benefit from having a recompilation, because I think that game needs to be preserved for all of its faults so we can truly understand and we can grow. If you cannot access the original release of Sonic 06, how are you supposed to know? If you cannot play that game in its original glory, how are you supposed to know definitively what actively worked and what did not work for that game without a YouTuber telling it to you? Because keep in mind, even as a smaller YouTuber, I've always advocated, and I always feel as if it is best for you. That's right, you, the viewer, to go out and experience things and come to your own conclusions. Do not take anything I say and repeat it as gospel, because that is the last position I want to be in. Come to your own opinions, just like I have. I have played Sonic 06 numerous amounts of times as a kid growing up, and I played PL6 numerous amounts of times as an adult. Fuck. Please recompile 06, but don't do it before Skate 3 and Jet Set Radio Future. That's the moral of the video. Bye.